Record of Ragnarok chapter 89. This chapter is going to be mainly solely focused on Susanoo's backstory, but let's get into it. So we pick up right where we left off at the end of the last chapter with Okita landing the first real blow on Susanoo. Obviously, Okita was slightly cut on his cheek, so that was technically the first blow, but this is the one that was significant. Some people thought it slashed his arm. It's actually just a straight up slash right to the midsection. Kind of reminds me of Zoro's scar that he got from Mihawk. With an unexpected move, Okita Tsuji delivers a slash with all his strength as Heimdall, Heaven's strongest god slayer. Susanoo takes a lot of damage, blood splattered everywhere obviously. Susanoo Mikoto was brought to his knees. He falls to his knees, which is pretty crazy. Now in this moment, Susanoo kind of just has a smirk on his face. He's very self-satisfied instead of following up, which to this point, I've talked about how much I've really enjoyed this fight and the way that Okita was all action, going for the kill in every strike and like really didn't hesitate. He was not even really talking. This time I think it's more so showmanship out of respect. Obviously I'd like to see them follow up, but you know, we got to get dialogue and shit, we got to get backstories, but it doesn't make much sense for Okita to just stand there looking at him. But of course you can make your own sense of it by the fact that they have mutual respect and he landed the first blow in this duel. So Okita smiles, looks very overconfident at this point, which kind of tells us the pendulum's gonna swing. Crowd goes crazy. The Shinshin Gumi start getting all hyped up. One of them says, "Quit making a fuss, you idiots. We should expect this. It's Okita after all. It's understandable that they would make a fuss about it, but not us. Look, gods, that's the one who is feared as the strongest in the Battle of Kyoto. Our sword, the sword of the Shinshin Gumi." We then see Musashi and Sasuke talking. Musashi says, "Formless, yet a deadly aura. That, while at the same time, lacks killing intent." Now this is a weird translation. I don't know if this is going to be refined later on, because I thought the whole purpose was that every strike between these two was killing, but maybe it's because, you know, that was the blow that was landed in the duel and obviously Okita didn't go for the kill after, so maybe we'll see. Musashi says this is a realm that can only be reached by swordsmen who have crossed countless life and death situations. Yeah, the reason why his sword is so sharp is precisely because the battlefield was his daily life. Okita Tsuji, that's one hell of a feat to be able to land even a single blow on the sword god in a sword duel. We then see Brunhilde and Goal. Goal says, "Awesome, I knew that human is super duper amazing." But Hilda is not going to be too hasty. She says, "Goal, it's too early to celebrate. That god who knows about the greatness of humanity better than anyone else is none other than Susanoo no Mikoto." Meaning that he is in no way, shape, or form going to be caught by surprise by Okita like some of the other gods. He went into this matchup fully understanding how strong Okita truly was, how strong humanity truly is, and how skilled they are. So he was prepared, and he's still going to be very, very dangerous. We then get a narration. Why is Susanoo no Mikoto praised as the founder of swordsmanship? Is it because his title, the sword god? Is it because his legendary Ame no Marakumo no Sarugi, his sword? No. Susanoo is the founder of the sword, but not the founder of swordsmanship. And Susanoo says he's hyped in between the narration. We get some cool panels of him getting back to his feet. The aura around Susanoo is crazy. He looks like a demon. I love his design. It's one of the best designs in Ragnarok in my opinion. So he gets back to his feet with his sword in the dirt, says I'm hyped, and we cut into his backstory. So I actually like this backstory. It goes into then who truly is the founder of swordsmanship and what is swordsmanship. I like this because him being the god of sword and the god of swordsmanship kind of makes you think, well, how in the fuck could he actually ever lose in a sword fight? If he's truly the god of swordsmanship, he should be the most skilled. But now we're going to get an explanation on this. From birth, Susanoo no Mikoto was perfect and flawless. He was the highest ranking noble god in Japanese mythology. As it was requested, he cut down all the evil gods and evil spirits with a single slash of his sword. Even though he was revered as the sword god and the strongest god slayer, his soul hung in a state of tranquility. Throughout this, we get a lot of cool shots, humanity praising him cutting down evil spirits. He looks like he has the One Piece like awakening sash, and he's very unimpressed and kind of almost living a meaningless life when he's just at the top. It's lonely at the top. He says that was easy when he cut down the people. And one day the creator god Izanagi gave orders to the three noble gods he created. Now I've heard some rumblings that this Izanagi is actually one of the primordials. We don't get a full reveal on him, but he is clearly the upper echelon of this pantheon. He is not one of the three noble gods. He's their creator. So he sits above the three gods we're going to get introduced to here, which are Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and of course obviously Susanoo. They serve as the three noble gods and they are siblings, Amaterasu being the sister and Susanoo and Tsukuyomi being the two brothers. And by Izanagi's decree, Amaterasu was to rule over the heavens, and I think she's the sun goddess as well. Tsukuyomi was to rule over the ocean. He's also the moon god, which makes sense with the tide and everything. And Susanoo was supposed to be, according to this translation, the ruler of the earth, and he is also supposed to be the god of storms, and Record of Ragnarok, he's the god of the sword and shit like that. So they started the three noble gods. Susanoo says, as you wish. He didn't look all too happy about it, but obviously he was following the orders essentially, and I'm pretty sure Izanagi is supposed to be their father. Well, he's their creator, so kind of the father of everybody in that pantheon. So he descended down to earth, and this is when he defeated the Yamata no Orochi, the giant hydra. This is a really dope ass panel. Now we get a shot of humanity praising it. One of the ladies is specifically highlighted. Seems like she's starstruck as soon as she sees him. To fulfill his divine mission, he exterminated the rampaging monsters, traveled throughout the land. He simply wielded his sword, but he didn't know the true meaning of swordsmanship. What he was doing was he was just slicing with power. He overwhelmed everything that he fought with just pure power. It was a divine weapon that was really going to be unrivaled to all the opponents he was going to face. And that was kind of his life until one day he saw this village. And when he arrived at this village, there was this giant troll-like being that was attempting to raid the village, attempting to torment the village, and he witnessed the scene that would shape his divine life. This troll was trying to, kidnap a little girl, and there was just one human that was far smaller, and he did not back down. He told his sister that he would protect her, and Susanoo watched this from afar and was like, there's an overwhelming difference in power. The boy is brave, but the outcome is clear. There's no way he can beat that thing. So the giant went to swing down his club, and the boy was able to counter the club strike and redirect the momentum to make the big man stumble, allowing him to land a sword strike right on the neck of the ogre, killing and defeating him. So he parried the opponent's sword, stepped forward, and struck. This was the fundamental principle of swordsmanship for humans. So he had saw this ability and this technique that allowed lesser beings or smaller beings to get the upper hand and potentially win with pure skill over somebody that should otherwise destroy them. So he was appalled. He jumped down as a god and went to talk to this human and says, what was that just now? Tell me what I saw. He's like, that big guy was watching. He did this god thing and then swoosh, and then he made a trump. So it's supposed to be just like him being absolutely shocked, like babbling onto this kid. You can see it. He's just asking him like, what was that? And the kid simply says, it was the sword. Even with my small body, I can fight an opponent this big because of swordsmanship. In my village, we come up with all sorts of ways to use a sword. We always train together to get stronger using these skills. Everyone is using the way of the sword. There's also a mural of the god Susanoo in my village. He's a god who saved mankind long ago. They say Lord Susa defeated a monster much bigger than himself with just one sword. That legend is so awesome. Everyone aspires to be like him. Of course, that's talking about Susanoo, and he's very flattered by this comment. He kind of cries. And the kid says he wants to be like Susanoo someday. We get the realization that to the gods and Susanoo, the sword was nothing more than a tool imbued with divine power to swing down opponents and to slash them into pieces. So as I mentioned before, he was just too powerful for his opponents. It didn't matter about his size because he was obviously imbued with divine power, far reaching beyond any being that was on earth at that point that he had come across. So it wasn't really about skill, it was more so just he was too powerful. Nevertheless, being he assumed to be far smaller and weaker than a god, created the art of slaying stronger opponents using the sword, using skill. And Susanoo kind of is like having a culture shock moment. The kid asks him if he's all right. He says he's ashamed of himself. What exactly is the difference between my sword and the swords of these people? What the hell? That's not reason enough. Simply the sword. That word is not enough. It's not simply just the sword. Jutsu, art. That's right. Kenjutsu, swordsmanship, the art of the sword. And that is how he founded Kenjutsu, so to speak. And he actually bows down to the kid. And the narrator says Susanoo no Mikoto, the one praised as the sword god, knelt before the nameless human boy in the most natural way possible. Knelt to him down like kowtow. The kid's like, whoa, what are you doing? And Susanoo says, you humans are amazing. That's why I beg you, please teach me swordsmanship too. He became the first god to seek guidance from humans. Now, obviously, he's super humble to do this. And brought a lot of meaning and purpose to his life to follow and figure out what the way of the sword is. But obviously the other gods at Takamagahara weren't too pleased with this. They obviously think of themselves very highly. So we actually cut back to Amaterasu, his sister of the three noble gods, and it seems that she is the one in charge. Obviously Izanagi is above them, but if he's the primordial god indeed, it seems that he is not really taking part in, ruling anything anymore, or if he's even around anymore. Maybe he got sealed away, like with the other primordials. She seems to be the one in charge. She says, "You the sword god, learn sword from humans. Have you lost your mind?" Susanoo tries defending himself and says, "It's not sword, it's swordsmanship." And Tsukuyomi is calling him an idiot, calling him a dumbass, saying, "What are you doing? Why would you be asking humans to help you? You're a god. And also, what's up with the dialect that you're using? Are you imitating humans, or are you looking down on Big Sister and me?" Anyway, a god who is one of the three noble gods would never seek aid from lowly humans. Do you think such an act that denigrates the dignity of a god would ever be accepted, Susanoo? Susanoo looks a little angry. He says, "Well, I didn't think you would allow it. In that case, I'm officially resigning from my position as being one of the three noble gods." The siblings are shocked by this, and Tsukuyomi tries telling Amaterasu, like, man, he's lost his mind, like, whatever. Amaterasu says, "Sano, can I ask you something? Why are you so obsessed with this swordsmanship thing?" And Susanoo says, "I'm really just hyped," which is what he keeps saying during this fight. "I just really hyped," and then they're even like hyped, like, what the fuck? "Even though I was born as one of the three noble gods, the power to be called the sword god, and the adoration of the common people, those are all things I had since the beginning. However, human swordsmanship is different. Only those who lack in these things can truly appreciate them, the value of what they have earned through hard work and mutual refinement. In truth, swordsmanship is endless. Once you've experienced something so interesting, you can't just stop now, can you? For the first time in my life, my heart is boiling." And I respect this. I obviously think that it's easy to see that he just got bored being a god, just slaying everything, and he wanted to add some purpose to where he actually had a goal where he wanted to achieve what humans had: swordsmanship. Maybe he's ungrateful for his position, but it's interesting to say the least. Maybe one of the most unique god backstories we've had. Tsukuyomi says, "By the gods, I have no idea. What the hell are you talking about? Nonsense, it all makes no sense." Amaterasu says, "Interesting, you say. It's alright then. You can do as you like, Susanoo. However, there's always a but. That's a shameless act for a god. I will never allow you to set foot in Takamagahara ever again. Susanoo, I hereby sentence you to eternal exile." That's why I say I think she's in charge, because she seems to be the one that's like laying down the law, like, I'll never allow you to set foot here. She's the one sitting on the throne. Susanoo agrees, kneels before, and she says one more thing. It's regarding the dignity of other gods. "I will not allow you to receive direct instruction from humans or expose yourself to them. I will only allow you to learn. Is that fine?" Meaning that he cannot actually have a teacher that is human. He cannot seek them out and train with them and disclose that he's a god. He can only watch from afar, which is actually pretty interesting, because he had to learn this on his own. He had to just watch and learn it. And he says, "Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, big sis." And he was thereby exiled forever. We find out that he had like this bird form. He can transform into a bird. That'd be really cool if he had like something of a hybrid form that he used, which, I mean, it looks like he can kind of partially transform too. I don't think he's going to in the fight, but it'd be cool. He traveled around hiding his identity and just simply observing. And actually, a little cool Easter egg is in Sasuke's backstory, there was that bird that was watching Sasuke train, and that seems to have been Susanoo watching him, obviously, as well, as he watched humanity for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years. Regardless of the culture, east or west, he watched it all. And the swordsmanship that sword masters have poured their lives into creating, he relentlessly studied, absorbed the principles of that art to the fullest. And we get this really cool training montage where he was even imitating Aokita, his Sandenzuki, his thrust technique. He has this really cool beard, long ass hair, it looks cool. And he was seeking only for moments that would make his heart boil. We then cut back to the fight, and he says, "In Kyoto of the Bakumatsu, as I saw it, politics, thoughts, and in everything that they did or said, swordsmanship was at the center of everything. It really was the best moment in time." Okita says, "You really enjoy swordsmanship, don't you?" Susanoo replies and says, "Yeah." And then, "Okita, you are the strongest manslayer. I never thought the day would come when I'd fight you to the death like this. That's why I would like to thank you." And that's when Okita's smile finally fades. That overconfident smirk, it fades. He feels the aura of Susanoo, and Susanoo says, "I want to make you boil too," with this cool panel of him lifting the sword out of the ground with blood on his hands. And that is going to be the cliffhanger to go into chapter 90. So full backstory chapter, pretty much. Not really much, obviously, action, but I mean, it served its purpose. We knew it was going to be coming. We still got Okita's backstory that's going to happen as well. Interested in how that's going to play out, because obviously the spin-off series covered a lot of that, but a lot of people aren't familiar with that. We still have yet to find out what or who Okita's Valkyrie is, what the power of his Volund is. You have to see his second katana being used. So there's a lot to go in this fight. Can't wait. And things should be picking up. So I enjoyed the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.